Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in the English reading of the Holy Quran, translation and commentary by Abdullah Yusuf Ali, published by the IPCI, the Islamic Propagation Center International, from Durban in South Africa. And today we are looking at chapter number 101, Surah Al-Qariah, the day of noise and clamor. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Let's look at the summary. This Meccan surah, let's just get the focusing sorted out. Okay, it is automatic focusing, so it's supposed to catch by itself. Let's just give it a few seconds. Right, there we go. Alhamdulillah. Right. This Meccan surah describes the judgment day as the day of clamor, when men and women, when people will be distracted and the landmarks of this world will be lost, but every deed will be weighed in a balance that is full of justice, a just balance, and find its real value and setting. 14 verses, looks like 14. 14, is it 11? Looks like 14, okay. How will the senses of man stand the noise and clamor of the great day of account, whereon this life's old landmarks will vanish, and man and woman will be helpless like scattered moths? Nay, but a balance of justice will weigh and appraise all deeds, and those whose good will show substance and weight will achieve a life of good pleasure and satisfaction, while those whose good will be light will find themselves, alas, in a blazing pit of punishment. So we know that on the day of judgment, we have the scales, and your good deeds are going to be weighed. Then it just depends, are your good deeds heavier or your evil deeds heavier, right? So it depends how the scale is going to move, whether in your favor. So these are the good deeds, and then these are the bad deeds, right? So it just depends which one is heavier. Is this one heavier or is that one heavier, right? We make dua that, Ya Allah, through His grace and mercy, He makes our scales very, very high on the side of goodness. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen, right? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Al-Qariah. Al-Qariah. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِيَةُ. Al-Qariah, chapter 101, the day of noise and clamor. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, the day of noise and clamor. What is the day of noise and clamor? And what will explain to you what the day of noise and clamor is? It is a day whereon mankind, people will be like moths scattered about, and the mountains will be like carded wool. Then he whose balance of good deeds will be found heavy. Ya Allah, through Thy grace and mercy, grant us that our good deeds are heavy, heavy, heavy through Thy grace and mercy, Ya Rab. Then he whose balance of good deeds will be found heavy will be in a life of good pleasure and satisfaction through Thy grace and mercy, Ya Rabbal Alameen. But he whose balance of good deeds will be found light, oh Allah, keep us away from this, will have his home in a bottomless pit. Ya Allah, keep us away from that. And what will explain to you what this is? It is a fire blazing fiercely. Oh Allah, keep us in the Ummah away from this. Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rabbal Alameen, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The day of noise and clamor is the day of judgment, when the whole of the present order of things will be overthrown with a tremendous convulsion. All our present landmarks will be lost. It will be a stunning experience to begin with, but it will inaugurate a new world of true and permanent values, in which every human deed will have its true and just consequences as if weighed in the balance. Moths are frail, light things. To see them scattered about in a violent storm gives some idea of the confusion that human beings will be going through, some idea of the confusion, the distress, the helplessness in which people, men and women, will be at first overwhelmed on the day of account. Old memories will be like a book almost blotted out. New hopes will be in vogue in a new world just rising on the horizon. But it will be a perfectly just world full of justice. And no good action will be lost. And no evil one but will have its compensating value estimated. The mountains are solid things, full of granite, hard rock, which seem as if nothing could move them. But in that tremendous cataclysm, they will be scattered about like flakes of teased or carded wool. They'll be pounded to powder, talcum powder, baby powder. This is a metaphor to show that what we consider very substantial in this life will be as an airy nothing in the spiritual world. All people's empires, their skyscrapers, the big buildings which they're delighted in, everything will be turned to dust. The balance is, of course, figurative. The good deeds will be weighed and appraised. This appraisement will be of the nicest and justest kind, for it will take into account motives, your niyat, your intention, your niyyah, and everything depends on the niyyah, your niyat, your temptations, your provocations, your surrounding conditions, your antecedents, your subsequent amendments, and all possible connected circumstances to which you are faced, depending on your unique circumstances in the house which you have grown in, the community, your country, and all of those things, the problems that you are faced with. Against them, presumably, will be deeds of the opposite kind appraised in the same way. If the good predominates over the evil, the judgment will be in mankind's favor, it will be in your favor. And that person will be ushered, man or woman, will be ushered into life of good pleasure and satisfaction. This, of course, will be on a totally new plane, a totally new dimension of existence, right? A totally new dimension, a transcendental spiritual dimension, right? Let's start again. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The day of noise and clamor. What is the day of noise and clamor? And what will explain to you what the day of noise and clamor is? It is a day whereon people, men and women, will be like moths scattered about, and the mountains will be like carded wool. Then he whose balance of good deeds will be found heavy will be in a life of good pleasure and satisfaction. But he whose balance of good deeds will be found light will have his home in a bottomless pit. And what will explain to you what this is? The bottomless pit is a fire blazing fiercely. Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Join me in the next episode, which we are coming to Surah number 102. And remember, there are 114 chapters in the Quran. We are busy with page number 1779 and Surah number 102, Surah Takathur. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.